today's webinar program. Shubhendu Biswas, convener of Artist Forum of Jamshedpur. On behalf of Artist Forum of Jamshedpur and WWF Online Art Gallery, I welcome all of you. Today's all members, I am heartily welcome all of you, especially Mr. Donald. He is a socially engaged practitioner from Australia. He is a very good artist. I have seen his many more paintings. I'm welcome him as a Horin. He is from Jharkhand, Ranchi. He is the eminent artist of Jharkhand. Today he has been taken interview of Mr. Donald Konian. So we are not interested to much more speech. So I'm interested to hand over my mic to Mr. Horin Thakur. He will today's conduct programs. Mr. Horin.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Most welcome, Mr. Daniel on behalf of Milap as the beautiful forum of creative artists of Jharkhand. So I would like to give some highlights about Daniel. So is the eminent artist from South Australia, Masters of Visual Arts from South Australia, PhD from the University of South Australia at Adelaide Central School of Art and practicing artist, basically. He has having so many solo exhibitions in Australia, Council Leadership Program 2020, Encounter and Publication Solo SASA Gallery, and different kind of presentations. He has already countries, and we are happy that he's having about 15 years regular journey to India. I think Jaipur, Kochi, somewhere else like that. And we are visit even in Jharkhand next visit. Okay, so we'll be most happy if you visit in our place also. So, and few words I would like to mention, which will be very, we will be proud to know the winner of portrait located in Geography Prize ASA Binale Prize, the finalist, the South Australian Museums, the Waterhouse Natural History Art Prize, finalist, and so many. And ongoing projects of Daniel Long, I think the current project developing deaf literacy with CALD communities founded by SA Health, South Australia Health Department, I think so. And I'm happy that to know about Daniel that it will be better. I should not talk much because today is the day of Daniel. To listen, we would love to see some presentation, even whatever his experience throughout this life. So, and we'll enjoy today. So, I would love to know from you now. Okay, Daniel, please.
Thank you very much, Harin.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, Subinder sir, very much Akshay for inviting me to this platform. It's a great honor. And one nice thing that COVID has done for us, COVID has taken a lot away from us, caused a lot of suffering, a lot of pain, and a lot of death. And my heart goes out to the people in India who have suffered a lot from COVID. But one thing it has enabled us to link over these platforms so that no matter where we are in the world, we can still share and we can still talk together. Yeah. So I thank Haran, Subender, Dirums for making the efforts to bring people together. And I also want to thank Hansraj Prabhumi Jaipur, who's a friend of mine for a long time, for suggesting that I might be able to participate in this. I want to say a big welcome. थोड़ा हिंदी आती है?
Yeah. Nice.
क्योंकि जयपुर में रहते थे 3 साल.
Oh, so nice.
मेरा हिंदी बहुत कम. So स्वागतम to सब लोग who are here. And especially I know there are some friends from Jamshedpur who now live in Australia who were interested to join as well. Many of the Indian community living unable to go back to India because again of COVID. Australia's borders are closed, so they can go to India, but they cannot return to Australia. There's a lot to cover. So perhaps Sarin, would you like to guide me through this and ask some questions, or would you like me just to speak?
I think if you, we can go through your presentations. That will be unique to help, to understand your process like that.
I'm speaking to you from a phone, so I don't have access to the chat. Okay. But I believe that that you can. So of the 28 people who are here, if you have any questions, please raise it in the chat. And I would love to. Please raise the questions at any time, and I will speak to them.
Okay.
So I'm an artist, a full-time practicing artist, but I also lecture in art. I teach drawing for first years. I teach drawing for second years and drawings for third years. I supervise third year students and supervise honours students. At Adelaide Central School of Art. Adelaide Central School of Art is the #1 ranked art college in Australia. We're very proud of that. We're a small college, but we have a very high standard and a very high ranking. So I call myself a socially engaged practitioner or a socially engaged artist. That's a long word and a complicated word, but what it basically means is that I believe art is much more than just a wall decoration. I believe that art has a much bigger role to play amongst people and amongst society. So I believe that is made of charcoal or paint or canvas, but mainly art is made of relationships and connections and people. So I do is about relationships and about events and about bringing people together to talk, to tell stories, and also to ask. In India for 3 years, from 2007 to 2010, not illegally. I lived for 6 months at a time, as you are allowed to do. And during that time, I spent time making art. Then I came back to Australia, and at that time, in 2010, many from India were moving to live in Australia. Australia saw an increase of 300% in the Indian community. Now we have a very large Indian here. But before 2007, there were very few Indian people living in Australia. Now there are many. When I came back, I noticed that many of them lost, displaced, disoriented, and alone. So India had been very, very good to me when I was there. I want to return that. Someone who could help those people settle down in Australia. So I started drawing portraits. Now, this portrait of Hari is a portrait of an Australian man. He's a Sikh man. And I started drawing many of these large-scale portraits in charcoal. I wanted the Australian people to understand all the differences of India. I wanted them to understand the faiths, Sikh, Hinduism, Islam, Jain, Parsis, and all the different faiths and philosophies. And I wanted, and many of the people coming to Australia were from Punjab. So many were wearing turbans, and that was sometimes something that stand out and perhaps face some ridicule or some racism. So I wanted to stop that as much as I could. So I drew many, many portraits. Now, I wonder if we can go to the next slide, Akshay. I'm not sure what order these are in. So this is jumping forward to a project I'm working on right now. So we're going to go backwards and forwards a little bit. So that's my fault for not putting everything in the right order. Now I'm working on a project now called Co-Viv. Co-Viv is a series of 14 different paintings, which is acrylic and oil on canvas. 14 different on temporary visas in Australia. So during the COVID times, people on temporary visas found it very difficult to survive. So these two are two sons, Richard Agetu from Nigeria and Kiabu from China. They are living in Australia, and I wanted to tell their story of what it was like to survive in Australia under COVID. So we're making a short film about that, made by Backfields. Backfields is a film company originally from Mumbai. Rigveda D, who studied in Baroda Art College, are now living in Australia, and they're making a film about this. So please do ask any questions about any of these projects at any time. Or questions chahiye, ask karo.
Oh, what I mean to say that through this kind of projects, because an artist, what and the common artists are basically interested in portrait, but your portrait is which is very much related with all those migrant peoples, and I think so. And you are basically emphasized on that. I mean, that facial expressions, and isn't it?
Yes, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm actually interested in something else, Harin. That's a very good question. Thank you.
Yeah.
I believe that when you make a portrait, face for an identity to be honored. Okay, you're honoring an individual identity. Now,
yes,
that is one thing. Really honor an identity, you have to ask that identity about that identity's dreams and visions and hopes for the future. You have to honor the identities, because a person, a living person, is past, present, and future.
Future, yeah.
A portrait is often just about the past, but not about the future. Now, when a migrant moves from one country to another country, they have a past, yes, they have a present, but on the future, their children, what are they going to do? What jobs are they going to do? Where are they going to live? Are they going to be welcome? Are they going to be belonging? A lot of unknowns in that. So the people I was working with, the migrants, their portraits, yes, are past and present, but more importantly, it's their future.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask them. So it became asking them about what they needed for their future, and they needed jobs and belonging.
Yeah.
They needed to be understood, those things to settle down. So that's where the other projects came into play. Thank you for asking me that, Harin. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can we go to the next phase, please? Next.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I may ask you:
Sure.
the with that turbine and that gear, all those, you are attracted with that, expression, no doubt, because they are the migrant, I think, in your area,
Yes.
Adelaide City,
Yes.
So
Actually, go to
yeah,
that slide you were on, because that has a portrait of Gurindajit. So I think that
okay.
addresses Haran's question. Yeah, this one. Yes.
Yeah, as a very, the realistically, you have portrayed that one, that I mean, the drawn, that turbine and everything, the beard, everything. So sometimes, the expression also is very much coming out from that overall gesture. So, what is the conditions through this portrait drawn on a wall with a charcoal or a
Good question. Yeah, no. Originally, these are drawn on paper. Many pieces of paper with masking tape stuck together with adhesive tape,
okay.
and then they can be taken down and put in a folder and put up somewhere else.
Okay, and suppose these are the direct, portrait you have drawn from the person, is it?
Yes.
So, and what is your feelings about that reaction when the persons, when he saw his monumental kind of portrait on a wall is drawn by you, and little bit if you highlight that kind of how they feel, what is their expression, because they are not basically artists. So, is it the fact that they relate with their character, or how they look like that, or how their expression is like? What feelings you get from their impressions?
Yes, good
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
So, and that leads to this slide here. So this slide is called Encounter and Obligation. Is the meeting. It is me meeting them.
Okay.
The obligation is what happens after.
Yeah.
So this particular portrait you can see here is Gurindjit Singh. Jasit Singh came to Australia about 10 years ago.
Okay.
He worked as a taxi driver and an Uber driver, and now he works as a manager in a auto repair shop. And he's also quite in the Punjabi community. He works for an organization called Khalsa Aid and does a lot of good work for the poor people of Australia. And he's become a good friend of mine. When I drew the portraits of the people originally in 2010,
Yeah.
there was quite a powerful reaction because I first put them up in the windows of shops in Adelaide. So they were not put in a gallery. They were put out in the streets.
Okay.
These very large, like you say, monumental portraits done in charcoal. But
Yes.
people could see them drawn, and that they were on fairly cheap material. So it was not about expensive material and oil painting. It was about drawing. But I think people can see drawing is genuine and serious. The quality of the drawing is about the people, and it's about depicting the people. So there was a lot of discussion about them at that time where, I saw your portraits, and then I met a man in a turban, and then we had a discussion about them.
Yes.
Or, so
Yeah.
it was about the discussions that happened with people. It broke down some barriers. People were able to talk. People were able to begin a conversation. So local Australians were able to start a conversation with Punjabi people who were new. So it was doing the work that I wanted it to do, to start conversations. Now, the people, Gurindajit, Pradeep, Satinder, all these people, they seemed to like it and they wanted more of it. So then these portraits went around the world. Then I got invitations to go to Vancouver, to Surrey, to London, to I went to a few different places, Sheffield, Birmingham, Sydney, Melbourne, Australia, lots of places. But the most important one was when I took those pub.
Okay.
So I took a series of 6 of these large portraits to Ludhiana and Chandigarh. And when I displayed them, Chandigarh, the parents of these migrants came back to see them. And it was very deeply moving.
Okay.
Because many, many, many young men from Punjab have migrated to Canada and Australia.
Oh.
And many of the villages in Punjab are lonely. Only old people are there making the farms. And the young people are there are either waiting to go. There's a sense that the whole state is emptying out. Everyone is going to New Zealand, Canada, Australia, desperate to go. And there's a great sense of loneliness in the older people.
Okay.
So when I put those pictures up, there was a lot of tears, there was sadness, and there was a lot of heartrending. So on one of the pictures I put up, a mother came just to see her son. Then I put the same pictures up in Ludhiana, and she came again, traveled for many, many hours just to see her. And the other thing, they were very touched by the fact that artwork shows that somebody cares about them, that their sons at foreign land by somebody who was not from their community. And that speaks very strongly to a very nice proverb in Sikhi, which is about.
Okay.
And there's a very beautiful example of the 9th Guru of Sikhi, Guru Tegh Bahadur, who sacrifices his life for the Kashmiri Pandits. Point about doing something for another community. So I learned that about that through doing these portraits, and I thought that is exactly what I want to do. I want to do something for them, and that came out in that project.
Okay.
So a good question. The slideshow you can see there, Encounter and Obligation, that was my final PhD work with many, many different communities. And that's one part of it. There's a video there. You can just see a video. You can see the portrait of Gurundaji. And you can see
Oh my God.
next to that, they were, there was about 30 or 40 works in that exhibition. This is just 3 of them.
Okay.
And you can see 6 more female Punjabis who are all bus drivers at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you for the questions, Helen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next. Yeah. Next.
Next slide. Yes. Okay. This is just a small one. Last year, I was fortunate. Last year, at the beginning, before COVID, in January and February 2020, I was fortunate enough to spend some time in Mexico, India. I had studied Spanish and Latin American studies, and I went and spent some time and taught at the University of Puebla in drawing. I would go to the local square and draw portraits of local people. And that was a very powerful, wonderful moment to meet all sorts of people, street vendors, shoe shop people, sellers, mums and dads and kids and all sorts of people. Because drawing is a very powerful way of knowing people.
Yes.
Because it takes time, a whole gamut of emotions. And that was a wonderful thing.
Well,
next one.
Yeah, next one. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Guide this. Now, this was a project so similar to what I've been talking about with the Punjabi community in Australia. There was a shipping container placed in the city of Adelaide. Right in the middle of the city, I drew the portraits of bus drivers who were driving buses around that place. And I also, the little shipping container became a little gallery, portraits, and made the galleries. And also many of them would come and sit and have coffee when they had time off. So it became a little meeting place. And then other people would also come on their lunch hour and conversation place. So this is a good example of socially engaged art where The art is not the drawing. The
Yeah.
art is the meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can go to the next one.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about Sapnam. So, yes, Sapnam is South Australian Professional Networking Association for Migrants.
Yeah.
Now, the unity is the combination of Sapna and Nam. So,
Oh, yeah.
when people come to another country,
Yeah.
they have a lot of dreams for success. The other thing they dream of is to be known, that their name is known. So I think like a name, they have a dream to be named in that new country. That is
Yeah.
purely accidental, because we work, yes, a lot with Indian people. And Sapnam is a lot with the South Asian community, but it's not just South Asian. We work also with Chinese, Iranians, and come to Sapnam because we help them write job applications and connect them to people for jobs. And many of the Indians, so they don't know Hindi. So Sapna doesn't mean anything to them. Many are Malayalis, many are from Karnataka, many are from Andhra. So it's their second or third language. So Sapna and Naam was not our main point. I work a lot with Punjabis, but many of the people in Sapnam are not Hindi-speaking people. But it's last year before, 2019, Shashi Tharoor came to Australia, and I met him through one of the things, and I told him about Sapnam, and he was the one that alluded to Sapna and Naam, which is a beautiful thing.
Beautiful name. Yes.
Now, Sapnam has become one of the largest free and voluntary employment services in Australia. We offer that as a way of breaking the barriers between employment, because what the migrant wants, again, the portrait is about the future. Past, present. One thing that the portrait needs to address is the future of the person. And the future of the person is getting a job. So we work with cover letters, communication, interview skills, and networking so that people can get jobs in finance, engineering, IT, all these sorts of things. So it knows that if anybody knows anybody who's migrating to Australia, but it's very difficult at the moment, but there are still people migrating, they can join Sapnam via online. We have a Telegram link.
Beautiful.
But the other beautiful thing, Haran, is that we have Sapnam meetings once a week, but we also have Sapnam meetings in the art spaces. So we had one in Art Gallery of South Australia. We've had one in the Contemporary Art Australian School of Art Gallery. So I try to have these meetings in art spaces as well.
Oh, nice.
So it is seen as an artwork.
Yeah. And such a poetic name,
It is
a very poetic name. Poetic. That names gives very much sensitivity, Sapnam, and it leads to show the dream, successful dream through this organization. This kind of Sapnam. Yeah. So it's a very it came very much new to me, and very interesting.
Thank you, Haran.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a project that actually Hansraj, who's in this group now, was involved in. This is called Sister Sangam. We had two iterations of this in Jaipur, and this was sponsored by the South Australian government. And myself and 3 artists from Australia came over and worked with 10 artists from Jaipur, 2 lovely women. And we did 40 artworks, and we created them in collaboration together. Then 2 years later, that was 2017, then 2 years later, 4 artists from India from that group came to Australia, and we worked together with the Ausasia Festival and created an exhibition in the South Australian School of Art Gallery, and etc. So Hansraj, who I believe was one of the artists in Dirums, was one of the artists who came to that as well. That was a wonderful project.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Next.
This is another beautiful project that happened as a collaboration. So it was with the Sikh community and with another group called Tutti. So Tutti Arts is artists with a disability. And you can see that the artists with disability were given turbans, and then they decorated them and painted them and colored them and then given back in exchange. So it was a wonderful opportunity to talk about being different in society. So artists, we called it standing up and standing out, because standing up and standing out is one of the tenets of Sikhi, right? You wear a turban, you have a beard, you choose to stand out, you choose to be seen. Now, if you have a disability, you don't choose to be seen, but you are seen. Everybody can see that you are different.
Yeah.
So the artist with a disability said, we stand out, we're different, people know we're different. The Sikh community said, we choose to be different, choose to stand out together.
Oh, beautiful, nice. Yeah,
It was a beautiful thing.
yeah. Nice.
It was a beautiful, beautiful project.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we had about 20 artists with disability, with from physical disabilities, and they are wonderful, amazing artists. The people who work with Tutti, incredible artworks on turbans, and then the turbans were then worn, and we had these posters, these beautiful photographs created by a great photographer in Adelaide, and they were blown up to 3 meters high. So these photographs were 3 meters high, incredibly beautiful quality, and then displayed in a gallery, and it became like billboards.
Oh, amazing, yeah.
Yeah, it was a beautiful thing. Yes.
Next. Yeah.
Questions, good. This is what I want to hear. I've talked too much, so I want to hear your questions. Please ask. And if you want to ask in Hindi, please ask in Hindi. Someone can translate, okay?
Shubhendu, hello, Shubhendu. If anybody asks any questions from other people, most welcome.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of people here I can see. We've got Sunil Sagar, Subrata Das, Supendra Shivanandan Lohar, Shilpi, Rupa, Rajesh, Rajkumar. We got lots. Ask some questions.
Now the time left for them. Okay, let them ask anything.
So I'm very much happy to see your interview. First of all, I'm very much thanks to you. And one thing is definitely you love Indians. That's why we are honored. One thing, Mr. Donald Kenyon, I have a questions. Art is your passion or your profession?
Both.
By profession, you are an artist.
Both. Dono.
No, whenever आपने जब काम कर माइंड का जो रिफ्लेक्शन है वो आर्ट में रिफ्लेक्ट करता है.
मेरे हिंदी कम है.
Oh, sorry.
I think that
whenever
I think I understand. Okay, what I want to say to you is that when I went to live in India in 2007, sorry, very alone and very disturbed. I had been through a difficult time in my life. India came to welcome me. India looked after many people. The security guard at the hotel, to the room boys at the hotel, to the cooks, to the auto drivers, to the auto rickshaw drivers, to the artists, to people, to everybody. I felt so much welcome, love, and so much healing. Do you understand? Healing from my disturbed state, to the point where I could then become an artist, become a proper practicing artist after me. So my mental state is that I want to give that back. I want to exchange that. That is what art does. Art is a healing process. Art heals us.
Yeah, and
Art heals us by giving attention.
one example I can put here, as per Subhendu's questions.
Yes.
So, the what I concept art, the art, A for if you adaptation from the society, anything it can absorb or adapt anything. R for reactions and T for transformations, is it? So if you anything from the society and you keep it or take all those your what you have absorbed from in your mind and you react in your mind, then you transform it in the society on a clump of clay, whatever any materials you can use. So then art forms. So it's very the same thing, the from the society, whatever he has been influenced with the migrant peoples, how their activity, how their pain comes from their livelihood like this. All those are he has been attracted from the beginning, I think so. And on that basis, the that community, all those migrant community. So it's so I think so. This is the basic philosophy of effects in the mind, and both sides, artists and the society, the common peoples, anybody, they are the background or the model, you can say. They are the subjects everywhere. So throughout the world. So artist, how can he react with that? That circumstances. It depends on different artists, and this I think so. So anyway, next question.
Thank you, Hari.
Anybody?
Very interesting. Very interesting points. Thank you.
Okay.
Subender, it's a very good question. Dhanyavad.
Yes, I.
Yeah. Who is
Archana,
This is
Archana Rehal.
Archana.
Rehal.
Archana.
Archana? Sir.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening. My question to Daniel is that I'm a Sikh Punjabi, and what I have seen in your project so far is something that has struck me very different. Like what that has brought you close to the Punjabi community, the over there, and so you want equality in the Australian society. That is one thing. But what is the other thing? You continued with that project, okay, and that's a very good thing. And we are very thankful to you for that. But what is the other thing that has drawn you to the Punjabi or the Sikh community as a
Okay.
whole? That's
Good
what
question,
I would
Archana. Okay. My first introduction became when I saw Gandhi. So Gandhi was an introduction to a political side of India, which I didn't know. Historical, and it was the story of independence, and it was the story of colonialism. So that sharpened my mind towards that injustice of colonialism, which I found was very powerful and very affecting of me. And when I was 19, I saw the Peter Brooks version of the Mahabharata, the 8-hour version, which was profoundly affecting for me. Okay, so that is one of the great, and I realized that there was a whole other world of understanding and philosophy out there, which came from this place called India. I was not in love with it immediately because I understand it. It was too big for me, but I was absolutely blown away by it. I realized that there was this enormous other way of seeing the world. I came from a Christian upbringing, a Catholic upbringing, way of seeing the world. Then the Mahabharata turned me upside down and shook me around. Then, 15 years later, I finally went, and I made many friends. My first firm friend was a Muslim. Then my second firm friend was a Sikh. And then my third firm friend was a Hindu. So I had many strong friends. All of them remain my three great friends. Now, the Sikh fellow, he immediately took me around me to and he told me about it. He's a great fellow. He now lives in America, and he's a good friend of mine. Now, as I worked with that, when I came back here, the Sikhs, because of their turban and their beard, they stood out. Now, I found that when you go to another country, making yourself, you stand out, but to make yourself stand out even more, I thought was very brave. And they got a lot of racism for it. And it was very hard. So they'd every day be called, or they'd be called something else or something else or something else. And it was very hard. People were being beaten. It was very difficult for them. Now, I wanted to found this beautiful quote by Guru Nanak, which is, whom shall I call that speaks of the other and goes around speaking of duality. Over the earth, I see no other. I see no man, no woman, no difference. And then all I see my beloved. And I found that quote from Guru Nanak to be the core of my philosophy. I don't want to see the other. I want to see the light of the beloved. And I'm not a godly person, and I'm not a religious person, but I think that light of the beloved can be your beloved. It can you. It can be all of those things. And so if you can see the love of that beloved in anybody, that is where it is. Now, a beautiful thing happened to me when I met some sadhus, and I found the sadhu culture fascinating. And after some days and weeks of remaining with these sadhus, listening to them, they gave me an Indian name, and that Indian name is Darshan. And Darshan, I think, is a very beautiful, beautiful concept. And that is the concept of seeing everything equally. And I think so. Everything is coming together. That beautiful notion of Guru Nanak, the beautiful notion of Darshan. That's such a beautiful and powerful concept. D for Daniel, D is for Darshan. Darshan is the idea of seeing deeply, and seeing all things equally and with equal divinity.
Yes.
A very great question, Archana, and it covers a lot of things.
Yeah.
But of course, on a practical level, the Punjabis are a great community here, a lot of fun. And they're my people, a lot of great fun, and they're my best friends. And I socialize with them, and we laugh and cry and fight and everything together. So,
Hello,
has asked a question on chat.
Harinder.
Anybody else? Akshay?
Subrata Das, Subrata Das, you have a question you can ask.
Because time is, going.
Yeah.
Mr. Daniel,
Yes,
Mr.
yes.
Daniel, there are questions for you from. He has asked
Yes.
how we feel about the Indian artist and Indian people when what is the experience of Indian peoples?
Well, that's a big question, because people are people, and Indian people are not. There will always be people who are welcoming, people who are hilarious, people who are angry, people who are funny, people who are wanting something, giving something to you. There's always different experiences. But the general feeling of Indian people is that there's a great sense of hospitality and welcome. Now, too, because I'm a white man, right? Indian people tend to treat white people very well, and the white people get extra special treatment. So I have to always be well aware of that. There's always that notion, that thing there. So I do get extra special treatment when I'm in India, but I feel as though I've been in India a lot. There are many layers. One thing I enjoy a lot is speaking to people from all walks of life. One of my pastimes in India is to find the cheapest place to drink the craziest bar, even the crates outside the liquor shop, and to have a drink with the common people, the laborers, the rickshaw drivers. And when people drink, they open up and they tell us, find that that is a very wonderful place to be. I can be, and I can be with the wealthy people, and I can be with others. I had a wonderful meeting with the Udaipur a couple of years ago. Actually, not him, but his son, Prince Laksharaj. And that was a wonderful meeting. He's a fantastic person. Loved him. And we had a conversation about the fact that when he meets with a lot of people are very, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. They want to please him. So we had a very fun conversation. But at the same time, some of my best times in India have been spent sitting on crates and boxes outside the cheap liquor shop and having a conversation with fishermen or auto drivers or rickshaw drivers or whatever, and finding out how they think and what they love and what they do and what their hopes and dreams are as well. That answers your question, Subroto. But generally, I get royal treatment in India, and most white people do. That's an issue. But I think generally Indian people are very, very welcoming and very curious about foreigners and very hospitable. So I've always felt safe in India. That's one thing. I've traveled in many countries. There's no doubt I've always felt safe in India.
Next, anybody? Subhendu? Hello, Subhendu, Akshay?
That's all right.
Yes.
Biju Kampar Banja has said thank you, sir. Please ask any questions, or maybe I should ask you some
There is
questions.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's one more question from the audience. That what kind of faced while working in India?
I haven't faced any problems. There's always somebody who will look after you. So if you want a glass of water, somebody will get you a glass of water. If you want some food, somebody will get you food. It's very different to working in Australia, where you have to do everything yourself. Yet there will always be somebody who will bend over backwards to help you. They will help you a lot. There will always be somebody to help you. So very few problems. I can't say that I've faced any difficulties or any issues. Yeah, that's a big question, but I can't say I've faced anything significant. Yeah, it's very different.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there is one more question.
What is my inspiration? I think that relationships and people is my inspiration. I think that quote from Guru Nanak about not is a very core inspiration for me. There's also a beautiful poem by Kabir, which I use quite a lot. Looking for me. I am in the next seat. My shoulder is against yours. You will not find me in temples or mosques or gurudwaras. You will not find twisting your legs around your head and eating only vegetables. You will find me in the tiniest breath of time, or words to that effect. And my shoulder is against yours. What Kabir is saying is we try and search for the answers in difficult things, but actually the answers are often right next to search for God in the clouds and in the temples and in privations and in doing all sorts of penance, but actually God is sitting right next to us all the time. That is a beautiful inspiration. And the concept of darshan. The other inspiration too is the concept of dharma. Not dharma as duty or dharma as religion, but dharma as finding your own path through the middle. I think that is a beautiful concept. So many of my inspirations come from India and Indian traditions. There seems to be another question by somebody that I didn't see it. It flashed up. It said, I can't see chat for some reason.
I will just read that for you.
Yes, yes.
Do you want to speak to the question?
Akshay, time is, you just say the time, how much we can
And last
utilize,
question
no?
from myself, Mr.
Yeah.
Daniel, as an artist, as a professional artist in Australia,
Yes.
how you are comfortable? You are full-time professional artist, or you are doing something from others, or source of incomes? How you are comfortable as an artist?
Okay, artists don't earn very much money. So, as a person in Australia, I'm not earning a huge. I'm comfortable with that. I earn most of my time practicing artist. I don't sell very many paintings. One thing about that is I'm very booking paintings and selling them, making paintings, selling them, making paintings, selling them. That can really destroy the soul of an artist. And if we think that that is the only role that an artist has, is to make paintings, then artists will just die a very boring death. Because in the end, you're not thinkers and you're not creators, you're just product makers. I think that artists play a lot of interested. We have to do things that join people together, that provoke people, that cause discussion, etc. So that's that. I also want to address one question that came up. Akshay, you were just going to read
Akshay?
that out.
I'll read that for you. Someone has asked, I have observed that most of your artworks are in charcoal portraits. Why is that so?
Oh, okay. That's easy to answer. I like charcoal. I like charcoal to make. It's very portable. It's environmentally very friendly. It's not. It doesn't last forever, but I like that because I believe that art is an event. It's evolving. It comes, it has its effect, and then it disappears. That, and you just have it. It's a stick. You draw, finish. That's it. That's how it is. So that's a good question. And the other fellow who asked about surviving as an artist, I always say to my students, don't become an artist unless you really have to be. Okay? Don't become an artist if you think you're going to make money, because you're not. Right? Be an artist if you feel passionately about questioning things, about ideas, and about constantly asking what's going on. All right? You don't get paid for asking what's going on, and that is the main role of an artist.
Right.
Okay.
I hope I haven't missed any of the questions, and I hope that I've addressed with enough time questions that have been asked. Thank you for all those who asked them.
Akshay?
Yes.
Can
So now I think all the questions which were asked are answered. And as it's already 6:59, we will just do some important slides so that those are not missed because of time. And then we'll go for the vote of thanks. So Binduda, can you please take it?
Thank you, Diram. Akshay. It is lots of thanks to Mr. Daniel Cornell. He has expressed lot of things. He has a lot of things. It's a wonderful session today. If we are getting chance, we will invite again, and at that time we will discuss more and more.
Please.
This session is not completing our inquiry or your feelings, what you would say. So questions is endless. That is depend on situation to situations. Whenever we are talking talking more and more, then questions will come out and reply will be come out. That is another question answer session. Once more, thanks to Mr. Daniel O'Neill, and I'm very much impressed for him that he has doing a lot of things in besides of artwork, and we learn a lot of things. So I thanks to Mr. Daniel. I thank to Mr. Today's interviewers, Mr. Harington, is doing a wonderful job, and obviously all viewers of today's webinar. So before end, we will giving you a memento, I mean, say a certificate, certificate of honors to Mr. Daniel Coniel. And I, Haring Thakur, please hand over. Obviously, it is on online. So, Mr. Akshay, please show his. Yeah.
First of all, sir, certificate of
Certificate is given to Mr. First of all, we are giving to Mr. Hansraj Chitrabhumi. I think he is here.
Yeah.
Please switch on your camera and speaker. Mr. Hansraj.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Most welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I have no any question for Daniel. बस मैं इतनी सी बात कहना चाहूंगा कि डेनियल में इंडिया देखा जा सकता है, प्यार देखा जा सकता है, क्योंकि वो जिन लोगों से मिलता है वो अपना बना लेता है। क्रिएटिविटी, टेक्निक्स, मैंने ये सब चीजें फॉलो की है डेनियल की। माइंड ब्लोइंग।
उनका थ्योरी है प्यार बांटते चलो।
ब्रिलियंट।
अच्छा नेक्स्ट।
जबरदस्त हंसराज जी।
Thank you so much, Daniel.
Okay.
My
Okay.
sir.
Yeah. Mr. Daniel, token honor certificate of honors, and
Thank
it will
you.
be given by you. Obviously, we will send you by mail.
Thank you.
Mr. Kim, you. So once more, thanks to everybody.
I'm handovering, okay?
Huh?
I'm handovering through like this. You know?
Thank you. I'm receiving
Thank
it.
you. Thank
You
you.
accept it.
Our time is definitely barrier to discuss more and more. So thanks everybody. And now
Thank
we end these programs. हम लोग आज खत्म कर रहे हैं हमारी इस वादा के साथ। अगले कोई एपिसोड में हम लोग ऐसी कोई शख्सियत के साथ फिर दोबारा मिलते हैं। हमारे लिए बहुत सौभाग्य की बात होंगे और हम फिर कभी उनसे जरूर रूबरू होंगे और कोई सब्जेक्ट के साथ। और इसी के साथ शुभ रात्रि और सबको वंस मोर धन्यवाद।